Early consequences. I was 9 years old, and she was 4, the little girl next door, always following my younger sister around. She was the epitome of cuteness, with her blue eyes and blonde hair, resembling a cherubic toddler in every way. It was little Beth, the neighbor's daughter, who bestowed upon me a nickname that would remain with me forever. My name, Arnold, seemed a bit of a tongue twister for her. When she tried to say it, it came out as Anna. My family found it endlessly amusing. It was during a visit from Grandma Jane that Beth, at 4 years old, ran up to me and hugged my leg, cheerfully shouting Anna, Anna, while playing hide and seek with my sister Peggy. Grandma, whose hearing wasn't quite sharp, asked my mom, why does she call him Honor? And so, the nickname Honor was born, becoming a family inside joke. Our family was large, a mix of Irish and French Catholic heritage. We had 14 aunts and uncles by blood, 3 living grandparents, and a whopping 58 first cousins. Their names were quite traditional: 6 named James, 3 Williams, 3 Roberts, 2 Donalds, 4 Marys, 3 Janes, 3 Margarets, 2 Jennys, and 2 Jeans, not to mention the countless nicknames like Jimmy, Jack, Jr., Trey, Billy, Will, Bob, Robbie, Don, Mare, Janie, Peggy, Marge, and Jen. And then there was me, the only Honor. Ironically, the same sweet child who gave me my nickname would later play a role in a significant chapter of my life, one that would challenge the very essence of that name. But let me not get ahead of myself. I was 14 and she was 9 when our lives took a dramatic turn. My father, a member of the 14th Quartermaster Detachment, was called up to serve in Operation Desert Storm. His unit, specializing in water purification, was assigned to Saudi Arabia, a location deemed relatively safe, away from direct combat. In the weeks leading up to his deployment, he underwent rigorous training. He returned home briefly before his departure. On his last day, he took me for a walk, a memory etched clearly in my mind. Honor, I'm not sure how long we'll be away. It might be up to a year. You'll need to be the man of the house now. Look after your mother and Peg. Your mom's going to need your support, especially since she's not used to being on her own. At that time, the responsibility felt immense, yet somehow, I didn't fully grasp its weight. Being a teenager and almost 5'10", I felt more mature, almost grown up. I was just a little shorter than Dad, though not as broad-shouldered. Sure, Dad, we'll manage, I assured him. We're moving back to Bedenton, so your mom can be closer to family. It'll be her support system. We'll keep the house here, and you guys can stay in the old cabin. My casual attitude was suddenly replaced by disbelief. I was on the brink of starting high school. Leave everything. My friends, my school, the team. I couldn't fathom it. But the decision was final, beyond my control. I remember being at the airport, feeling a mix of anger and confusion. Dad pulled me aside. I know this is hard. Life can be that way sometimes. I'm relying on you, son. Do the right thing for your mom and Peg. Stay strong. He placed his hand on my shoulder, a reassuring gesture. I'll be home before you know it. For Peggy, the move was an exciting adventure. For Mom, it was an opportunity to reconnect with our extended family. For me, it felt like a disruption of everything I had planned. I loved our small town, its rural charm, and the sense of community, but now I was being uprooted. It's just for a year, I kept telling myself. For Beth, it seemed like a catastrophe. She was heartbroken, often tearful, and constantly around, looking at me with those sad eyes. I knew she had a fond crush on me, which had always seemed endearing, but now it felt poignant. On the day we left, our van packed to the brim, it took me several minutes to gently disengage her arms from around me. I picked her up and gave her a comforting hug. Beth clung to me tightly, her arms around my neck, and in a moment of emotional outpouring, she pressed her lips to my cheek. Come back to me, Honor, she cried. Soon, Beth, I promise. We'll all be back. Dad's return, however, came under tragic circumstances. Just 6 days after arriving in Darren, their barracks were struck by an Iraqi missile. It was only a week into the deployment. History notes that 114 Americans lost their lives during the Gulf War. On the other side, the Iraqi casualties were in the tens of thousands. A significant disparity, a seeming victory with minimal American casualties. But for the families of those 114, it was a devastating loss. We returned to Greensburg only to clear out our house and prepare it for sale. We met with the other families from Dad's unit, sharing in a collective grief filled with tears, sadness, and anger. Beth's emotions were a whirlwind, happy that we were back, yet heartbroken by the circumstances. Dad's passing hit me hard, and in those dark times, Beth, still just a child, became an unexpected source of comfort. Whenever I felt overwhelmed, she would find me, sit with me, and just be there. She was a young girl, 9 years old, yet in those moments, she was my steadying force. I was 14, she was 9. I had to grow up too soon, and she lost a piece of her childhood innocence. When we finally had to leave, our goodbye was strained. This time, there were no hugs or kisses. She stood at a distance, tears in her eyes, a look of upset on her face. She hugged my sister and my mom, but when I moved towards her, she stepped back. Goodbye, Honor, she said, her voice trembling, before she turned and ran away, her blonde hair trailing behind her. Goodbye, Beth. I was 19, she was 14. With solid grades and strong test scores, I had my pick of colleges. Carnegie Mellon stood out, offering not only an excellent education but also the chance to significantly reduce my costs through scholarships, grants, and minimal loans. The scholarship from the Greensburg VFW was the deciding factor. It felt like a return to my roots. Post-high school, I took a year off to work with my uncles, saving money and helping with household expenses. Mom's job wasn't high-paying, but combined with the insurance from Dad's passing, we managed to scrape by. In a small town like Bedenton, where jobs were scarce and many commuted long hours for work, we did all right. 5 years had passed since I'd really thought about Beth. Initially, I kept to myself, finding solace in books and music, occasionally catching up with her over the phone. But as time went on, our conversations became less frequent. I had built a new life filled with cousins, friends, and a few romantic interests. The most recent, Annie Marshall, shared tender moments with me, a significant part of my journey into adulthood. However, the pull of college meant leaving her behind. As I drove to Pittsburgh, thoughts of Beth, the young girl with a big crush on me, surfaced. I planned to reconnect with her, though it was going to be challenging without a car and living on campus. My education was a priority. I owed it to myself and my family to do well. I felt unusually anxious as I approached the door that said morning at 10:42 a.m. It's strange how certain details stick with you forever. When she answered the door, I instantly recognized her. The past 5 years had transformed her. She had grown taller, her hair was still long, and those large, captivating eyes were just as striking. "Honor," she said, a hint of uncertainty in her voice as she looked up at me. I had grown too, reaching the family height. Standing at 6'2" and weighing 210 pounds, I resembled my father more than ever. My height made my sturdy build seem proportionate. Without a moment's delay, she threw herself at me, her arms and legs enveloping me in a tight embrace. "Honor," she exclaimed, her joy evident as she peppered my face with kisses, her eyes brimming with tears. I couldn't help but laugh, returning her hug. "Miss me, Beth?" I teased. As I stepped into the familiar house, Beth clung to me with the enthusiasm of a child. Her mother, busy in the kitchen, looked up in surprise. "Mrs. D, a little help here," I joked. She came over, laughing as she tried to gently disentangle Beth from me, while also embracing me warmly. "You're back?" she inquired with a smile. If I had delayed my visit by just a month, I might have missed the chance to see Beth again. That weekend, I fully immersed myself in the familiarity of their home. Beth and I revisited all our old spots, and it felt so natural to walk alongside her. She was 14 but carried herself with a maturity beyond her years, and she was undoubtedly beautiful. Walking with her, I noticed the approving smiles from those we passed, and I felt a sense of pride being with her. I wasn't flush with cash, but I spent what I had saved up for that weekend, wanting to make the most of it. They had set up the guest room for me, and it wasn't too surprising when Beth quietly slipped into my room around midnight. Nothing inappropriate occurred. I was 19, she was only 14. I was an adult, and she was still a child. We talked, shared our feelings, and had a moment of innocent affection, a deep connection forged over time. Being close to her, I was acutely aware of her youth. She was just starting high school, and I was already in college. I put aside any inappropriate thoughts, focusing on the platonic bond we shared, comforting and cherishing the moment. At that time, I realized the depth of my feelings for Beth. When I was 23 and she turned 18, our relationship continued to grow. We managed to spend weekends together at least once a month, especially challenging during the initial summers when I returned to college and left her behind. We often watched movies together, just me and my mom. I'd wrap my arm around her, offering comfort. Our kisses were gentle, filled with familial love and support. It felt right, natural. Losing Dad had brought us closer. We relied on each other in those tough times. Many nights, I'd stay by her side, comforting her through bouts of sadness. I saw her beauty, of course, but she was my mother, once my father's partner. Holding her, wiping away her tears, I'd reassure her of my unwavering love and support. Dad had entrusted me with looking after her, and I intended to honor that promise. I was known for keeping my word, a trait I attributed to Dad's influence. His last words had instilled in me a desire to make him proud, guiding me like a moral compass. My sister Peggy and I shared the usual sibling dynamic, playful teasing, occasional arguments, but underneath it all, a deep love for each other. That third summer, I stayed in Pittsburgh for summer classes and an internship. I had a car and spent all my free time with Beth, my girlfriend. We were incredibly close, bonded by more than just romance. I would play songs for her, admittedly not very well, but she adored it. Her blue eyes would light up as she watched me strum Dad's old guitar, especially when I played her favorite, Beth by Kiss. It was our little ritual. For the senior prom, I wanted to make it special for Beth. She looked stunning, and I might be biased, but she was the prettiest girl there. We had a limousine, a fancy dinner, and danced the night away. The evening was magical, a perfect celebration of our time together. I was 23, and she was 18. That was the time when our love took a new turn, becoming something deeper. My limited experiences with love before Beth paled in comparison to what we shared. We took our time exploring each other's emotions and thoughts, gradually opening up in a way that was new and exciting for both of us. There was a sense of discovery and awe as we talked about our lives and dreams, lying close together. In those moments, our connection deepened. We shared soft kisses and words of love and longing. "I've wanted this for so long," she whispered with a sense of yearning and affection. Our feelings for each other were intense and genuine. "I love you so much," I told her, overwhelmed by the depth of my emotions. "I don't even know how it's possible." Her response was filled with warmth. "I've always loved you, Honor. Always." It was a night of deep emotional connection and mutual commitment. "Promise me we'll never be apart again." "I couldn't stand it," she said. "Never. You're mine, BB. Now and forever. Nothing will ever change that," I assured her. We were young and deeply in love, exploring each other's likes and desires with enthusiasm and openness. Our time together was filled with joy and discovery, strengthening our bond in countless ways. That night, I felt a profound connection with Beth, as if we were destined to be together. She was unique, and I knew nobody could ever replace what she meant to me. The next day, when I finally took her back home around noon, the evidence of our long night was apparent. Beth had informed her mother she wouldn't be returning home that night, and as we arrived, I couldn't help feeling a bit nervous about facing her parents, especially after the lack of sleep we both had. Alone with her parents while she changed, I was visibly uneasy. Mrs. D sat beside me, offering comfort. She playfully ruffled my hair. "Relax, Honor. It was inevitable. You and Beth have had a special bond since she was a child. I think everyone saw it but you." I gathered the courage to speak to her father. "Mr. D, I want to ask for your daughter's hand in marriage," I blurted out, eager to express myself before any interruptions. "I'm graduating soon and have job prospects lined up. I love Beth deeply and vow to provide her with the best life possible. I know our age difference is significant, but our love is strong." His smile was reassuring. "Son, I couldn't have chosen anyone better for my daughter. You have my blessing, and I appreciate you asking." Tears welled up in my eyes as I turned to Mrs. D. She hugged me, offering her support. "Of course, Honor. Just remember, she's young and has always been focused on you. Be patient with her." "I will," I promised. "I can't imagine being apart from her." She nodded. "Soon, you'll always be together." I was 24 and she was 19 when we got married. Our wedding was a celebration of our unique journey and love, marking the beginning of our lifelong commitment to each other. Beth came from a well-to-do family as an only child, and I had landed a promising job near New York City. While she was studying in the city, we made sure to spend every weekend together. I still lived with my extended family, and Beth seamlessly integrated into our close-knit group, quickly becoming a favorite. Her parents generously covered the wedding expenses, undeterred by the large guest list, which mostly consisted of my family members. The wedding was in our small hometown of Bedenton, Connecticut, right near the New York state line. Bedenton was a tight-knit community, small and dominated by a few families. Despite the limited hotel accommodations, our welcoming community opened their homes to our guests. My mom even offered our house to Beth's family for the weekend, staying with her sister and my sister Peggy. We set up large tents for the occasion, and my uncle Patrick, who was also a priest, officiated the wedding. It was a beautiful ceremony, attended by friends, family, and under God's watchful eye. People often commented on how well-matched we were, but Beth always playfully insisted that she was the fortunate one, having joined such a loving family. Beth was incredibly beautiful, and it was impossible not to notice the attention she attracted. But I was never worried. I knew her heart belonged to me alone. Her face would light up whenever I entered a room, a sight that never failed to warm my heart. My cousin Fred used to playfully tease Beth. He would mimic my accent and sometimes call out to Beth as a joke. She'd brighten up thinking it was me, only to realize it was Fred. Everyone found it amusing except Beth. When she told me about it, I made sure it stopped. People often teased me about being just as smitten with Beth, and I couldn't deny it. She was my partner, my love, now and forever. I was committed to loving, caring for, and protecting her, and I had the support of my family in doing so. The wedding celebration lasted 2 days, delaying our honeymoon to Niagara Falls so we could spend more time with family and friends. The event was a blur of joy and festivity, but certain moments stood out vividly. Our first dance, exchanging vows, and the image of Beth sitting on the edge of the stage, with my sister adjusting her gown, looking at me with adoration. I even joined the band to sing Beth for her. Those memories, filled with love and happiness, will always stay with me. Our wedding day was filled with joy and celebration, and when we finally arrived at our suite, the excitement continued. Beth, still in her wedding dress, and I shared a playful moment. She joked about her maid of honor, Peggy, not managing her bridal train properly, all while we struggled with the layers of her dress. Our laughter soon gave way to a deeper connection, marking the beginning of our life together as a married couple. It was a night of love and happiness, symbolizing the deep bond we shared. Beth's sense of humor even extended to the next day's barbecue, where we arrived a bit late due to the time it took her to get ready again. She playfully bragged about our eventful night, much to everyone's amusement. I felt incredibly fortunate. At 24, I had married the woman I loved deeply, my soulmate. At 19, Fast forward a few years, Beth, at 23 and I at 28, were surrounded by family as she walked to the podium to receive her MBA. We had been there just a year before for her undergraduate degree, where she graduated. It was amazing to see how the girl next door, whom I had known all my life, had blossomed into such an intelligent and accomplished woman. Our family, including her parents, my mom, Peggy, and myself, her adoring husband, cheered loudly for her. It was a proud moment for all of us, marking the start of new plans and adventures together. Meanwhile, my career in business was thriving, largely thanks to a stroke of luck. My work involved developing control systems for energy-efficient homes, and during one of our installations, I had an innovative idea. Although it was slightly outside my expertise, I enlisted the help of some family members to refine a couple of devices, aiming to enhance the system's efficiency. It was these moments of creativity and support that defined our lives together. After testing an innovative idea on my own home, I ended up with 3 patents to my name. I assigned 2 of these to the company I worked for, which led to unexpected promotion and bonuses. This success inspired me to take a leap of faith. With my family's support, I started my own business and left my previous employer on good terms. My new venture was in a similar field but distinct enough to not compete with my former company. In fact, it even generated business for them, and they reciprocally sent some work my way. My reputation for thoroughness and reliability was well known in the industry. Although some clients might have found my attention to detail demanding, it ensured that projects were completed on time and on budget, leading to repeat business and new clients through word of mouth. Inventing was my true passion. I constantly sought ways to improve existing technologies or solve old problems in new ways. My patents were instrumental in securing deals, and as my business grew, I employed family members, valuing their trustworthiness and commitment. Contrary to the saying about not mixing business with family, I found it worked well for me. At 28, with my wife, then 23, managing our finances, and 11 family members and friends on staff, my business thrived. We became a significant employer in our small town, contributing more to the local economy than almost any other entity. Although we weren't wealthy, as I reinvested profits back into the business, the rewards were far greater. I had the respect of my colleagues, the trust of my clients, the love and support of my family, and a wonderful partner in life. It felt like the beginning of a prosperous and fulfilling chapter. With Beth's graduation, we closed one chapter of our lives and looked forward to the next, growing our business and our family together. On Beth's graduation cruise, we found ourselves spending a significant amount of time in our cabin, reigniting the passion that had somewhat diminished due to the pressures of starting a business, our time apart, and her 5-year college journey. It wasn't a major concern, but something we both had noticed. We were lucky to have a relationship built on openness and honesty. We had identified our challenges and addressed them together, navigating the complexities of those early years with understanding and communication. By the time of her graduation, Beth was debt-free and my business was steadily growing, having overcome the initial hurdles. We were truly partners in every aspect: life, love, and business. At 28, I was thrilled to learn, just 2 weeks after our second honeymoon, that I was going to be a father. Fast forward 5 years, when I was 33 and Beth 28, our life seemed ideal. My business had expanded to over 50 employees, mostly family members, making us prominent figures in the community. Our children, Marie Carol and William Arnold, were the center of our joyful, albeit hectic, life. Beth, after Marie's birth, had scaled back her work to focus on our child and eventually chose to be a stay-at-home mom after Billy's arrival. However, she remained an integral part of the business, offering insights and assisting with financial management. The business demanded a lot of my time, often too much. Supporting not just our immediate family but also extended relatives became a significant responsibility. With Beth's reduced involvement, I took on her duties as well, leading to frequent travel, including trips abroad for business dealings. I juggled running the company and devoting time to my invention, with my cousin Fred handling much of the day-to-day operations. Despite the busyness and challenges, those years were filled with growth, both for our business and our family. When I first moved to town after my dad's passing, Cousin Fred became one of my closest friends and helped me settle in. We had been best friends since I was 14. He was intelligent, hardworking, and reliable, always there for a good-natured tease. I trusted him implicitly with business decisions, especially regarding hiring, as he had an excellent understanding of the community. Beth and I led a comfortable life, though we were careful not to indulge in extravagance. Her car was a bit fancier, but I still drove a 5-year-old Ford F-250. Our house, a custom-built 35-square-foot rambler on the town's outskirts, was equipped with top-notch amenities but was far from a mansion. It was our cozy haven, with a 3-car garage and a beautiful yard, nestled in a picturesque setting. We could afford more, but we chose a simpler, contented life among our family and friends. Our marriage was strong, and despite the busy schedules and the joys and challenges of parenting 2 young kids, our relationship remained full of love and passion. We couldn't be together every day, but we cherished the moments we had, filled with deep affection and connection. Beth's beauty seemed to only grow with time, and every moment alone with her reignited my passion. It was a Thursday evening, just a few days before a business trip to China. After we put the children to bed, Beth surprised me in my study, playfully hinting at a romantic interlude. She had recently shopped in the city, and her appearance in new lingerie was a delightful revelation. She stood at the door with a flirtatious smile. "Will you be working late tonight, love?" she asked. Realizing the special moment, I closed my laptop, letting the work wait until morning. I got up with a grin, and she, with a giggle, playfully dashed off to our bedroom, with me eagerly following. In the bedroom, our evening unfolded into a tender and loving exchange, filled with laughter and affection. It was moments like these, amidst our busy lives, that kept our bond strong and vibrant. That evening, Beth and I shared a deeply intimate and passionate moment. We both were completely absorbed in each other, reveling in the intensity of our connection. After some playful and affectionate exchanges, Beth's laughter and joy filled the room, a testament to the deep bond and understanding we shared. Eventually, she playfully challenged me, taking control and adding a new level of excitement to our encounter. We were both completely lost in the moment, each of us fully engaged and responsive to the other. Our love and passion for each other were undeniable, culminating in a shared, intense experience. Afterward, as we lay together, Beth still wearing parts of her playful outfit, she turned to me with a soft and serious expression. Her gentle kiss was full of love and tenderness. "God, that was incredible," she whispered, her voice filled with warmth and affection. "You're always incredible," I replied, equally moved by the moment. She looked into my eyes, her gaze sincere and deep. "Are you happy, Honor?" she asked softly. Her question caught me off guard. "Deliriously so," I answered earnestly. "I have the perfect wife, 2 beautiful children, a successful business, and the respect of my friends and family. What's not to be happy about?" She expressed her concern about the time I spent away from the family. "You're often away. I thought we'd be spending more time together, not less, as things got better." Her words made me realize the importance of balancing our busy lives with our time together as a family. It was a reminder of the preciousness of the moments we shared and the need to cherish and prioritize them. Beth's concerns were valid, and deep down, I knew she was right. Despite my intentions to scale back work after each major project, I hadn't managed to do so yet. "Are you happy, BB?" I asked her, seeking to understand her feelings. Her smile was tinged with sadness as she replied, "Content, I guess. Happy enough." I was concerned. "What does enough mean? What's bothering you?" I pressed. She confided her feelings. "I miss you, Honor. When you're away on trips, working late, or leaving early in the morning. I know it's all for our family, and I appreciate that. But I think I'm just being selfish. I want more of your time. We haven't had quality time together in so long. We haven't had a vacation just for us in 2 years." I pulled her close, feeling a pang of guilt. "I'm sorry, Beth. You're absolutely right. I promise I'll find a way to make more time for us." Beth then questioned the necessity of my upcoming trip to China. "Can't someone else handle it? Why does it always have to be you?" I explained my reluctance to delegate these particular responsibilities, mentioning the issues we had faced previously when I did. She suggested that Fred could take over this task, hinting at his high salary and the need for him to shoulder more responsibility. However, I explained Fred's critical role in managing our operations and the team, an area where he excelled but which didn't encompass vendor relations. Beth expressed her frustration, urging me to find someone capable of handling these tasks if no one locally was suitable. I gently rolled her over and kissed her softly. "I'm truly sorry, Beth. Your happiness means everything to me. You know that, don't you?" My heart was heavy with the realization that I needed to find a better balance for the sake of our relationship and family. Beth's words echoed the struggle in her heart and mind. "I know in my heart that I'm important to you, Honor, but sometimes, when I see other families where the husbands come home early for dinner, or when I'm alone at events because you're busy, I can't help but wonder," she shared. I responded with affection, showering her with gentle kisses and lighthearted tickles, trying to bring a smile to her face. "You should never have to wonder. You mean the world to me," I assured her. "Promise?" she asked, a hint of worry in her voice. "I've been devoted to you since we were kids." "That's never changed," I reminded her, and she giggled, easing the tension slightly. As we lay close, I could feel the warmth of our connection reigniting. "Give me just a few more months," I pleaded. "I'm working on a few things to scale back my responsibilities. Let me complete this upcoming trip and finalize these deals. Then, let's take a 2-week vacation, just us, anywhere you choose." She playfully accused me of trying to bribe her, but I was serious. "I am, because I want this as much as you do. I've been too caught up in my duties to the town and our family. They need to learn to manage without me. I promise to reduce my workload. Plans are already in motion." In response, Beth guided us back to a moment of intimacy. "Love me, Honor," she whispered. And I did, with all the tenderness and love I had, showing her through every gesture and kiss that she was my priority, my everything. The promises I made to Beth were not just words, they were backed by tangible actions and plans. I had 2 new patents in the pipeline that were promising. Our most significant current patent was nearing its expiry, and I was in talks with a multinational corporation for a lucrative transfer deal. This would be superseded by one of my new patents, ensuring protection and profitability for another 7 years. I had been preparing Fred to take over more business responsibilities. It was a gradual process, but I was committed to supporting him through it. Additionally, I was in talks with the vice president of business development from my former company. With a leadership change there, he was considering a move. The upcoming trip to China was planned as a kind of extended final interview for him, as well as an opportunity to meet our key vendors. The company interested in the patent transfer was also sending a delegation to China as part of their due diligence. This trip was crucial and required my presence, but I was setting things in motion so that my direct involvement in such matters would decrease over time. My goal was to gradually step back, focusing more on what I loved doing and less on the day-to-day business management. This shift would allow me to work more from home, maintain reasonable work hours, and most importantly, spend more time with my family. The trip to China turned out to be incredibly productive. The VP candidate was given a month to wrap up his current role, with some additional time to spend with his family. I presented him with a compelling offer, including a stake in the company, contingent on his long-term commitment. I encouraged him to discuss it with his family and take a week to make his decision, emphasizing the importance of his family's agreement with this significant change. The patent transfer negotiations were nearing completion, with an expectation to finalize the deal shortly after our return. During the trip, I received the news that one of my crucial patents had been approved. This was a significant milestone, securing the future of my company for at least the next 7 years. It was a reassuring development, affirming that my efforts to balance my professional ambitions with my family commitments were moving in the right direction. Life was aligning in my favor, and upon returning from my trip, Beth, as always, made it a point to make me feel cherished. In her thoughtful way, she arranged for our children to spend Tuesday night at Mom's, giving us some much-needed time alone. I was eager to share the developments from my trip with her, but I wanted to wait until the patent transfer was finalized and Gil had officially accepted the job offer. Beth, ever perceptive, sensed that something was up and was curious to know. In our living room, during an intimate moment, Beth playfully tried to coax the news out of me. "Spill it, Honor. I can tell something's happening," she said with a mischievous smile. I couldn't help but feel a mix of frustration and amusement at her tactics. "Remember our last conversation about making more time for us, for the family?" I asked, trying to keep the mood light. She responded with a teasing gesture, her playful demeanor not faltering. "Yes, and," I replied, trying to hold back my excitement. "Things are looking positive, but they're not quite final yet. Give me just another week, and I promise I'll fill you in on everything." Beth, still in her teasing mode, quipped, "Maybe I'll wait a week to finish what I started here, then." I looked at her, my expression serious. "Do you trust me?" She gave me a look full of affection and a hint of playfulness. "Trust from a man named Honor." "Always," she replied, her tone a mix of jest and sincerity. "1 week," I confirmed, smiling at her loving nature and the understanding we shared. The promise of the future, both for our family and my business, felt brighter than ever. Beth's birthday was just around the corner, and I had organized a surprise party with the help of our family while I was away. I suspected she thought the secret I was keeping might be related to her birthday, so she didn't press for details. As we shared a tender moment together, she playfully reminded me, 1 week. It better be good, before showing her affection in her own special way. I couldn't help but smile and assured her, "I promise." 1 week. The surprise birthday party on set was a hit. In a small town like ours, keeping secrets was nearly impossible, but Beth played along beautifully, feigning surprise when our friends and family, about 50 people, greeted her upon her return from a shopping trip with Mom and Peggy. The real surprise came when she saw her parents, whom I had flown in for the weekend, along with 2 of her closest friends from college. Her heartfelt thanks that evening and the next morning were overwhelming, making all the effort worth it. She spent Sunday with her family and friends, and I briefly slipped away to work, continuing my efforts to balance work and family life better. I was 33, and Beth was turning 29. Life seemed perfect. On Monday, I traveled to the city to finalize the patent deal. Surprisingly, what I anticipated would take a whole day was wrapped up in less than an hour. There were no complications. The deal went through smoothly. I signed the papers and received a substantial 7-digit check, the first number being a 2. These patents were owned by Honor BB LLC, a separate entity I had created for my invention, of which I was the sole owner. We arranged a 6-week licensing period to transition away from our use of the patented technology, including transferring the board designs and firmware. The buyers were pleased with the deal, and I was beyond thrilled. It was a significant milestone, a culmination of hard work and innovation. I drove home, eager to share the good news with Beth about the successful patent deal. As I pulled into the driveway, I noticed several cars parked there, which wasn't unusual. Beth loved socializing, and it was common for friends or family to be visiting. However, nothing could have prepared me for the scene I encountered in the living room. Beth was intimately engaged with Fred, a close friend, and his brother Dale was also present, involved in his own way. They seemed completely absorbed in their actions, oblivious to my presence. The shock of the situation left me momentarily frozen, my mind struggling to process what I was witnessing. There was no conversation, no words exchanged that might explain or justify what was happening. It was clear to me that this was a consensual situation. Feeling a mix of disbelief and devastation, I quietly stepped back outside and closed the door behind me. I didn't feel the need to document the scene or confront them physically. The reality was stark and undeniable. Beth was choosing this. In a daze, I slowly walked back to my car, my mind racing with questions and confusion. I contemplated going back inside to confront them, but I couldn't muster the will. I wondered how long this had been happening and how it had remained a secret in our small community. This revelation shattered my perception of our life and relationship, leaving me to grapple with the sudden upheaval of everything I thought I knew. As I drove away from the house, reeling from the shock of betrayal, my mind was in turmoil. The people I trusted most, my wife, my best friend, my business partner, had all deceived me in the most intimate way. The fact that Fred, a married man with 3 children, was involved, only deepened the sense of betrayal. I couldn't help but question how long this had been going on, especially in a small town like Bedenton where secrets were rare. I picked up my phone, needing some form of confirmation, and called my mother. "Hey, Honor, how's business in the big city?" She greeted. "It went well. I'm on my way back already." "Mom, have you seen Beth?" "I can't seem to reach her," I inquired, trying to keep my voice steady. Without a moment's pause, she replied, "She's probably with Peggy, getting a makeover. She left the kids here. When will you be home?" "I'll let her know." Alarm bells rang in my head. My mother's quick response felt too rehearsed. "Don't worry about it, Mom. I'll surprise her." "Got some big news today," I said, trying to mask my growing suspicion. "That's wonderful. Do you know when you'll be back? Are you still in the city?" she asked, a bit too eagerly. I was almost certain now that she was part of the cover-up. "Yeah, I've got a few things to handle first. It might take a while," I replied, feeling a pang of hurt that my own mother could be involved in this deception. She sounded relieved as she responded, "Drive safely. I'll take care of the kids for you." After hanging up, I was overcome with a sense of urgency and made a snap decision. I quietly opened the side door to the garage and manually lifted the garage door to avoid any noise that might alert the others inside. My heart raced as I stepped into the garage, grappling with the reality that my life as I knew it had just unraveled. My comment, "Do you think OP will end up okay? Or more betrayal will come along the way? I'm working on part 2 as you are watching this. I'll see you in the ending."